I don't know if that's any better or not, but we'll see. Is it at least kind of stable?
It looks stable to me.
Yeah, I lowered the settings a tiny bit just to see if that actually made any difference. I also undid and turned off and then turned back on again, making it my laptop's connection to the Wi-Fi. But I still don't. But hopefully it's at least a little bit better.
Well, the buffering is gone, so
I can only assume it's because of the settings I had on. It was just too high, by which I mean 60 FPS. Alright, so now we're actually back in. I can actually kind of talk about the game again. We're in a dungeon again. We're in a dungeon again. Hurrah! We are in a dungeon. There are two types of dungeons. There are just ones where just the size of the map changes, and the majority of everything that happens are kind of outside of that. And then these that explicitly have certain effects within the stages. So the first one was ice, and this one is quicksand in the middle of the stage. If you stand still, you fall. You fall into the sand. The one I think we're about to encounter next is fire. So the middle of the stage is fine, but if you stand on the outside of the stage for too long, you catch fire and you die. Like that. And there we go. Perfect description. Exactly what happens. Ah! There we go. I don't... No, not on this stage. Luckily, none of the only one of the dungeons within this category is even decently long, and it's right at the end. But I should be able to get through it quickly enough, and we'll still be underestimated, I'm sure, because I left like about 7 minutes, and it didn't take that long for me to get everything sorted. Okay, that didn't work. And as if you've seen the enemies in this dungeon, the gimmick is that they constantly recover their health, whereas I don't. So the way to the end in this dungeon after the fight I just did is actually to the right. But this room that I'm currently in gives me a weapon for Talim that I want. And it's just one extra fight, so it's not that long. What? Okay, that's actually incorrect. Turns out I made a mistake. That wasn't what I was supposed to do. I thought that was the right room. I thought I was supposed to get a weapon there that I wanted, but I didn't. Here we go, we're now at the boss. We've defeated the boss. Now this next area is there. We're gonna fight ourselves. Like no matter which character you choose for this for the fight that's coming up after this next one, you fight yourself, and I believe that enemy has slightly more HP and slightly more attack speed. But in this fight, it's a 3-on-3. You can't switch out or anything. It's just traditional 3-on-3 fights where your character is third in the queue, and you get paired with 2 random characters that I believe have random weapons from their assigned set of, I think, about 9. Cathram? Don't know, but I'm gonna go with hopefully. Oh, I already have them. I don't know where I got them, but I already have the weapon I wanted.
You want more?
Final battle. Fight.
Won't you please give up?
I would talk more, but talking seems to make me go slowly. So we're on to chapter 6 now. So we're not, we're just under halfway in terms of time, and
Here I come!
about halfway along in terms of number of chapters. There are only 10 chapters in this mode. We don't do any of the sub-chapters, or there are even 2 extra chapters in this mode. But obviously the idea is to win every fight as quickly as possible within, given the parameters the game gives us.
Battle 1. Fight.
And luckily, as far as this particular mission goes, there are 5 enemies. We only have to fight one of them.
Final battle. Fight.
Did your best. I respect that.
Yeah, let me do this one.
Versus Yun Sung. Final battle. Fight.
Okay, we only have one mission left of this chapter, but it's a dungeon. Luckily, there is a short path that we can just. There's about 5 fights. It's not that bad. This dungeon has a gimmick where you have the water is constantly rising within it. You enter and water starts rising, so you only have 200 seconds to complete every fight. And if you go the long way round, that time limit does become quite restrictive, but since we just go straight to the boss, it's not a threat for us at all.
Final battle.
Luckily,
Fight.
also, if for whatever reason we lose a fight, we get reset the time resets. We don't lose time if we lose the fight. Obviously, we lose speedrun time, but we don't lose time within the context of the dungeon if we lose a fight. It gets reset to what it was when we entered that room.
Final battle. Fight.
You did your best. I respect that.
Final battle. Fight.
Hopefully this is enough. Yeah, that does enough damage. I wasn't dealing with attacking him anymore. I wasn't into that. So we go down, and then the fight after this one is the boss.
Final battle. Fight.
So this dungeon is a little bit different with its boss in the fact that it's actually 2 fights.
Versus assassin. Battle 1.
And I believe there is... Oh, it's not this version. The second time we go through this dungeon, I believe there is... earthquakes? I think the ground shakes in the extra version of this dungeon.
Fight.
I forgot it wasn't in this version. But there we go, we win.
You did your best. I respect that.
And also, despite the fact that I had, what, more than 2 minutes left on the timer, within the in the story it still says they drown. These 2 people that we defeated, they still drown, despite the fact that after defeat they had more than 2 minutes to escape.
Versus Maxi. Final battle. Fight.
This is one where I might have wanted to switch to Nightmare, because this mission, the majority of the damage you do is taken is when the enemy gets hit against the floor or wall, and Talim's not the best at hitting the enemies against the wall. But I did get that one wall hit, and that was luckily that's more than enough.
Here I come.
Final battle. Fight.
I believe this mission is that you need the person can guard, which suits me great because I love that. I'm all out attack when I play things like this. So the enemy not being able to guard my attacks suits me fine. As we move on to fight an enemy where, if anyone has played the original, either of the first 2 games, they know this enemy quite well.
Don't worry. You'll be okay.
And we defeated them fairly handily. Chapter 8. We're nearly there.
Versus Yun Sung. Battle 1. Fight. You win. Battle 2. Fight.
Unfortunately, Ivy is someone I don't like fighting because Talim is very short reach, and Ivy is very not bad. That is the thing that Ivy is known for. So she hits from way away when she chooses. Obviously, aside from the other thing she's famous for being her physical attributes, I shall let everyone else work out what I mean.
I can do this.
versus Voldo. Final battle. Fight.
This is another one where you have to get the enemy against the wall. Unluckily, Talim has an attack that pushes an enemy back, and if you're obviously close enough, it will push them against the wall.
Versus Keelik.
This one can kind of be an issue because if you had, or not, because normally if you hit an enemy from a standing position with an upwards attack, it pushes them way into the air and you can't hit them with a follow-up. But Talim has some attacks that instead of pushing them into the air, it rebounds them into the air from off the floor.
Nightmare. Final battle.
So they don't get the upward momentum that they would traditionally get, meaning you can just use normal attacks. But luckily, Helix just decided to jump into the air, get hit by my attack and die. It's not that one, it's that one.
Versus Astaroth. Final battle. Fight.
There will be a lot of this chapter has a couple of switches. I switched to Talim here because, as you can see, there's a force that pushes combatants together, and I don't want to have a long-range character in a fight where enemies are constantly being pushed together. I don't want to do that.
Battle 2. Fight.
So I switched to Talim, and then the next fight I actually switched back to Nightmare because the gimmick for that fight is one that suits how Nightmare attacks a little bit better than Talim's in my opinion.
3. Fight. Win. Don't final battle. Fight.
Won't you please give up?
Final battle.
Which, as you can see, you could only see the enemy's legs, which means you can only attack the legs. If you hit with an attack that would otherwise normally only hit the body, it just doesn't hit them.
I will show you the greatest nightmare. Versus Talim.
Final dungeon of the game.
Watched over by the Almighty Ones, they unleash.
My heart is still pounding.
Final battle, fight!
I am one with the wind.
Final battle, fight!
Got away with that miss. Ah. Thank you. That took longer than it needed to.
You did your best. I respect that.
Final battle, fight!
Won't you please give up?
Final battle, fight!
My heart is still pounding.
Final battle, fight!
I am one with the wind.
Final battle, fight!
You did your best. I respect that.
Okay.
Are you okay?
It's our rival. The guy that we've definitely been told to care about.
Fight! Knockout!
Won't you please give up?
Alright, so if the people in the Discord or whatever can actually even hear me still, this is the final fight, and time's about to come up when this fight when this fight's almost over. When there should after the fight is over, there's a pop-up that's like chapter clear. When that pops up, then it's time. Assuming I don't die, obviously.
Fight! Knockout!
Time.
My heart is still pounding.
Well, seasoner.
Sorry about all of the issues.
That's okay. You managed to finish a run, and that's what matters. Tell me about SoulCalibur 2. How'd you find the game?
Well, I don't. How I found the game was probably in a shop when I was about 10 years old. I grew up playing this game. I loved it. I just, I got into speedrunning it because I wanted to do something that wasn't. I wanted to take a little bit shorter. I wanted to see if I could do fighting games quickly, and everything that goes around with playing games like this, especially adventure modes like this and Subspace Emissary, which I quite like as a casual thing. Yeah, but then
You still
sorry.
You still beat your estimate despite the
Yeah, I
tech
gave
issue.
myself quite a lot of, because I knew, there aren't any RNG tricks or anything like that. I gave myself enough time to the point where even if stuff like this did happen, if I maybe had a tech issue or I was still really rusty and I just had one fight I was really struggling with, I could still stay within the estimate. That's why I gave myself a lot of leniency, considering there is no RNG in this game. Well, I say there's no RNG, obviously it's AI, but it's not as if, we have to pull off this one frame perfect, pixel perfect trick or whatever. There's none of that. So I didn't have to worry about, the only mistake I made was going into a room I didn't need to.
You're actually 2 minutes off of your personal best, according to SRC.
I got up because I was like, oh, just in case, because I have a tendency when I don't have tech issues and all the rest of it to PB on derusts, and I don't get it. With a lot of my speed games, I PB on derusts. So I got up my low split and I had it here just in case. Obviously that didn't happen, but the tech issues cost me about 2 minutes, and I think I was just under 3 minutes behind, so I wouldn't have got it either way, because I did die a couple of times. Despite everything, I'm still happy that the amount of the game that I got to show off, I did get to show off some of it.
Is there anything you would like to add?
Do the donations.
Donations, let me have a look. If my dog stops barking, please.
People donate to the good causes,
We have had no donations so far.
Yeah, everyone make sure to donate to the good causes. They're
Yes,
very good causes.
I'll do the charity reads now. Our Charities, the Trevor Project, is a non-profit organisation that focuses on suicide prevention among the LGBTQ+ community. Save the Children focuses on improving the lives of children through better education, healthcare, and economic opportunities, as well as providing emergency aid at natural disasters and other conflicts. And 350.org is an international environmental organisation addressing the climate crisis. Its stated goal is to end the use of fossil fuels and transition to renewable energy by building a global grassroots movement.
And
That's
breathe.
charity.
And breathe.